Well, this is it. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin, I'm a geek. You're back watching Kevin the Geek, and this is it. This is day 12 of my 12 days of Christmas movie reviews. This is my first year doing Christmas movies. This is my first year doing YouTube. This is it's just an incredible kind of feeling right now, knowing that I'm kind of coming to the end of this little chapter. And as of today, I'm recording this to the 22nd. Obviously, this is going out Christmas Eve, so 2 days later. I've hit my target. I've managed to hit 50 subscribers as of today. So, first of all, just a huge thank you to every single one of those 50 subscribers. Your support means a lot to me, as does every other person who watches any other of my videos. I really do appreciate it. So, Merry Christmas to all of you. I send out all of my love. But today, we're here to talk about another Christmas movie. We're here to do another review. So, if you are new, please do consider subscribing. Drop a like on the video. Drop a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. There are 10 categories. We're going to work out whether The Holiday can take the top spot or if it goes somewhere else in the list of all the other movies. Let's get started with category number 1. Okay, so the story of this movie, it kind of follows love, kind of similar to yesterday when we did Love Actually. This one more focuses on 2 characters, Iris, played by Kate Winslet, and Amanda, played by Cameron Diaz. And these are 2 women who are both unsuccessful in love, and they need a break from love, from work, from everything, and they agree to do a house exchange. So Iris, who lives in a little cottage in England, swaps homes with Amanda, who lives in a huge mansion in Los Angeles. And the 2 worlds could not be any more different. And I love that the 2 characters are so very different to each other as well. And the way that they approach this little break is very different as well. You have Amanda, who is pretty much ready to give up after less than a day. And Iris, when she gets there, she's so excited and so giddy. And it's a wonderful dynamic there. Amanda very quickly meets Iris's brother, and they kind of get involved. Iris meets and befriends let's say a Hollywood legend, and tries to help him along the way, and befriends another one of Amanda's kind of colleagues, or technically I think it's her ex-boyfriend's colleague, and they develop a really lovely friendship. And throughout the course of the movie, it's a chance for both of them, to kind of come to terms with their own life, their approach to love, and their attempts to just simply being happy. And it's a wonderful story, and I think it would have been too easy to make both of them pretty much the same kind of storyline. And they did make them kind of a similar storyline, but then they completely went about their own individual separate ways, and that felt quite refreshing, that you did 2 similar yet very different things there. But I love the story of this movie, I really do. It's got everything that I would want. So The Holiday story gets 10 out of 10. Now, I absolutely love the setting of this movie, similarly, because what I was saying in the story, it is so contrasting to one another. You have this absolute tiny little cottage, which is just set in the countryside. You're surrounded by loads of hills, and it's snowy and it's wintry, and you go in there and it's so cramped, and you'd probably knock your head on the ceiling, and you've got to light a fire and all this kind of stuff. And then on the other hand, you've got this humongous mansion in Los Angeles. You've got all these fancy gizmos and everything. You've got a pool. It's sunshine all the time. It's just so opposite to each other and really reflects the characters. And I mean, I could score it really highly, just enough for the mansion. It's beautiful setting, and of course, it being in Hollywood is just gives you a bit of lovely romantic kind of feel. But the cottage is what really makes it. How quaint! I think anyone who's not from the UK probably, when they're trying to think of a stereotypical kind of thing, they probably think of something like that. In reality, very few of us get anything close to that. But it's a real picturesque kind of thing, and I think a lot of people think of England sometimes in that kind of romantic way. But the settings were amazing. 10 out of 10. The music in this movie is on top form. Not only do you have amazing music, and the instrumentals for it is just woven throughout it. And you have very little pop music, which I do quite like as a fact, because I think it's too easy and too cheap to go with popular pop music in the modern day, particularly. But the main score of this movie was simple, poignant. It set the tone throughout. And then on top of it, you have Jack Black, who is a musician himself. He plays a musician, and he just riffs off on all the music stuff. And I think a lot of the music kind of trivia and dialogue and everything that came in the movie, it just came from him and probably improvisation and being Jack Black. But the music in this movie was just wonderful. And I love the fact that there is one song that gets written for the character of Arthur, who's getting an award for his contributions to Hollywood and screenwriting. And Miles, Jack Black's character, writes a theme for him. And the moment that Iris goes to him to pick him up, to take him to the award ceremony, just in the score alone, you just have the subtle hints of that theme. Very cleverly done. Beautiful music throughout. Another 10 out of 10. Now, the Christmas message in this movie is to love. Do not allow yourself to be treated badly. To appreciate what you've got. Take pride in the little things. Every little message is just all about friendship, family, love, all the way through. And it's, I wouldn't necessarily say it's a Christmas thing, but it is drummed home because of the fact that it's Christmas. And these two characters could have really been in a situation where they're in a really downward turn. And Iris is. The moment that she gets the message from Amanda to suggest about the house exchange, she is literally, it's such a low point that when she goes to light her kettle, which she has to use using a gas hob, for the briefest of moments, she sucks in and breathes in the gas. That's a real low point. And I think it takes the things of the movie to get her back to that happy place. Christmas should be a time for love and happiness. Sometimes things affect us in ways that we don't want. So the Christmas message is just wonderful. Another 10 out of 10. Now, the festive cheer for this movie, I think at times it maybe forgot that it was supposed to be a Christmas film. It's set at Christmas and it has loads of decorations, everything like that. But sometimes it just lost the festivity of the movie. It was still strong throughout, but just the old times, it felt it just kind of held back a little bit and was focusing too much on the love aspect and the romance and things like that. So the festive cheer, Christmas cheer, I'm going to give 8 out of 10. Now the main characters here, I'm really debating whether just to keep the main characters as the 2 girls, Iris and Amanda, or do I also include the men, Graham and Miles, so Jude Law and Jack Black. It's a really hard one because I feel if I include one, I have to include the other. Miles, I feel, was slightly more supporting. Graham felt more of a main character. It's a really tricky one. For the purposes, I think, of this, I'm going to keep them together. So, the character of Iris, she's just so sweet and innocent throughout the entire movie. And I absolutely hate the fact that she is basically pining after this. Well, to put it in Arthur's words.
So he's a schmuck.
As a matter of fact, he is.
You know, the fact that she knows she needs to get over this man who she's been desperately in love with for years. And the fact that he just will not leave her alone. It's so sad. But she's so caring all the time. And so obviously she wants to help look after Arthur and help him. And of course she doesn't see Miles initially as in a romantic light because she's there for herself and to kind of clear her mind and get away and just have fun. But then when he has his problems with his girlfriend, I think that's where she begins to see him in a different light because she sees a lot of herself in him. And a lot of stuff that he goes through, she has also unfortunately had to deal with. And I think it's great that their dynamic is so wonderful. It's all about laughter and having fun, which she probably hasn't had in a really long time. So they had a wonderful chemistry together. Amanda and Graham probably are the 2 biggest characters in this movie. I felt they got more screen time than Kate Winslet did. I just wish there'd been a little bit more. So Amanda, she is a typical kind of they try and play her off as this really uncaring, really cold-hearted woman, but she's so strong that she needs to fight through and be independent and all this kind of stuff. And they try and break her down that she falls in love and obviously learns to cry throughout the movie. And she did a really good job. And it was the right dynamic to have when you contrast it to Graham. And I think they went a little bit over the top to make it seem that he was kind of like a general player of a man and was just going around and shagging and sleeping around with loads of women, which to an extent he kind of was, and he kind of said that he did a little bit of that. But when you learn the reason, he's a widower. He's got 2 young children who he has to raise himself. And he's spending so much time doing all that stuff that he's probably not had a true sense to really kind of grieve and properly get over his wife. And has kind of, this is his way of kind of coming to terms and accepting the situation with his wife. And Amanda is the first person who probably in one respect probably reminds me of his wife, but also reminds him that it's actually okay to move on. It's okay to be vulnerable. And I really like that. So both pairings felt so strong throughout the movie for very different reasons. Once again, they're getting 10 out of 10. Now, your supporting characters of the movie really come down to the opposition romantic partners and Arthur. So we'll start with the opposition partners. So for Miles, obviously he has a girlfriend who's barely seen in the movie. She does an alright job. On Amanda's side, it was her ex-partner Ethan, who is a typical guy. He's caught the eye of a work colleague, and she's flirted with eyelashes, and he's kind of gone for her for a younger model. It was fine with what he needed to do there. And then you come to the main two. So, Jasper Bloom, played by Rufus Sewell. And he was probably the go-to in sort of early 2000s when you wanted someone who could be pompous, kind of rich, particularly English. He was just that go-to character. I remember him again in Knight's Tale with Shannon Sossamon, where he was Count Adamar. And I also remember him being the Duke or the Count, or whichever title he was, in the second Zorro movie, The Legend of Zorro. He just has this innate charm about him. So there's enough charm that you can absolutely understand why a woman like Iris would fall hopelessly in love with him and would kind of cling on and hope and dream that one day he's just going to take her for his own. But at the same time as being so charming as an actor, Rufus Sewell is wonderful at playing this nasty piece of work in a very subtle way. It's not a very over-the-top thing. He does it kind of, it's like digging under and undermining. He's really good at that kind of thing. So he was just fantastic. Again, in the quite limited time that he really did on screen. I think it was only really in 2 scenes. Even when you just saw the name, you got that feeling of dread in you. And then Arthur. What a character. He was absolutely wonderful. He's the kind of character that was designed to be a plot development character and to progress the story, to help kind of help bring Iris to her senses and get her to see things in different ways, everything. And that would have been perfectly fine. But the whole aspect of his character was brilliantly portrayed. And I'll tell you the other thing that really hit home when I watched it this time around. I really noticed that when he and Iris first go into his house, you see the contrast between his office and his living room. His office is just so antique and clear. There was so much love in there, from the photographs to all of the old scripts that they had and the Oscar that was sitting on the windowsill. And then you look in his living room and it's a modern chair. He's got his walking sticks, his Zimmer frame, his TV dinner, which is on a kind of little table in front of him, and it's half eaten. And it really shows the difference of where he was and where he is. And I love that later on in the movie, when he starts kind of getting a bit more confidence and he's speaking with Iris more, you see him spend more time actually in his office than the living room. Such tiny, intricate details, but really makes a huge difference for his character. So the supporting characters throughout this entire movie were fantastic. Another 10 out of 10. The Grinch of the piece is fundamentally these flawed relationships. Jasper Bloom and Iris have such a horrible relationship, and it's awful to see someone going through this incredibly awful relationship. When she's on the plane and she's about to take off to go to America, she sends him a very clear message saying, I need to fall out of love with you. Please give me the chance to try and do that. I don't think that's a very fair message, considering the fact that this man has literally just got engaged. But he doesn't. He still rings her. When, the first time he speaks to her after she gets in America, he's talking about her little red bikini. He's so manipulative. He wants everything. And such an awful character, but really believable. And then the other sort of Grinch, and the one who's threatening to ruin Christmas, in a weird way, is actually Amanda. Because she has the potential to get something really great in her life for probably the first time in a long time. But she finds it so difficult to open up and actually give herself that opportunity to be happy. Yes, it is complicated, don't get me wrong. But she's always been so strong and determined and unwilling to allow herself any moment of weakness, which she would consider falling in love to be a weakness. She's at danger of ruining not only her Christmas, but potentially a love of her life. And it's so... Every single line, every single bit of music that leads them to that moment is, again, so carefully thought out. I'm going to have to give The Grinch of the movie another 10 out of 10. Now, for the category of snow, in a usual sense, I would say that the lack of snow in one area compared to another is probably a detriment and deserves a lower score. But in actual fact, for this specific movie, I feel it's needed. Because it is to show a huge contrast between the two characters and the two dynamics and the two settings. So it would look weird if you had snow in Los Angeles, which, to be fair, probably wouldn't really ever snow in that kind of period of the world. Anyway, if it did, it's very, very small amounts. But when you did have the snow in England, the fact that it's in a wonderful countryside setting, you see all these fields covered in snow, and all the rooftops are covered in snow, and all the roads are covered in snow, and Amanda gets out of the car and is slipping over because she's in heels in the snow. It's just perfectly done. Another 10 out of 10. Finally, the Christmas decorations. Again, they're there throughout the movie in both locations. And again, from kind of like last time, it is kind of supposed to be that it's a little bit different between, rural England and, between Los Angeles. There weren't as many decorations as I would like that I think there could have been. But the ones that were there were very effective. Even to the ones in Graham's house, when you go and visit there for the first time, the fact that there's a lot of homemade decorations, like the paper chains and things like that, which you'd expect with a house with two young girls. I dig that a lot. I'm giving the decorations 9 marks out of 10. And that brings us to the end of the review. So, I think you kind of know where this is heading. The Holiday, as a movie, has scored a grand total 97 points out of 100. That makes it the first thing that I have reviewed which is an A+ plus, plus. I love this movie. There's a reason that I watch it every single year. It is fantastic. All the way through from start to finish. I'll be honest, I didn't think that this would be the one that hits my top spot. But there you have it. I have 11 movies. This is how I've ranked them. If I reviewed them in terms of just what's my favourite, it might come second, I think. Because I think Home Alone would probably take my top spot there. Followed by The Holiday, probably then followed by Love Actually. They would probably be my top 3 in terms of my favourite Christmas movies. But I've loved watching a lot of these movies that I've never seen before. And I will probably now consider watching them in the future at Christmas time. But that is the final rankings of these Christmas movie reviews. I might do some more next year and expand the list a little bit more. But for now, thank you so much for joining me on this journey. Merry Christmas to you and your family. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining me, and I hope you do continue to join me coming into the new year. But for now, thank you and Merry Christmas.